It is finally that time. You've all been so patient. I've been so excited to make this video. But yeah, what's up? Novaexplosion, as you already know. We are doing it, the Tales of Tier List. This is Mainline Tales of Tier List. So, as you can see at the top, it says Mainline Tales of Tier List. That means we will not be including spin-offs like Radiant Mythology, Tempest, or Dawn the New World. I just figured we're going to make this the mainlines only. A couple things before we get started. The first thing, Destiny 2 is not on here. We're only doing 16 of the games because they refuse to finish Destiny 2, the English patch, so I still can't play it. So that's the only mainline I have not played. So that one will not be included. I'll probably, when I finally play that game, I'll probably like splice in where I'd rank it or something. We'll see. We'll worry about that when Destiny 2 is done. That's number one. Number two, I've been thinking about this if I want to do spoilers or not. And I think I am going to spoil the game. However, if you're watching this video, you have been warned. I think I am going to talk spoilers. I might not do big spoilers, but I might go into some story specific. So if you have not played these games and you do not want to be spoiled, I will leave a timestamp. So skip to this number if you just want my rankings. If you just want to know my tier list rankings, it'll be ordered like number 1 to number 16 and on this tier list. If you just want to know my my rankings and don't want to be spoiled, skip to this number right here. So you people that don't want to be spoiled can just see my rankings. Just, you know, spoiler free. But yeah, with that out of the way, we're going to get into this. The way we're going to do this is, I have the games in release order, as you can see here. As you can see, they're in release order. So we're going to go through each of these games in release order. And I'm going to talk about all of the things about them. Like, I'm going to talk about the story, the characters, the gameplay, just what I think of things. But yeah, let's get started. Tales of Phantasia to start off today. This is also going to be the definitive versions of the games I played. So this is talking about Phantasia Cross Edition. Now, alright, let me see here. Phantasia Cross Edition. I'm going to put this, I'm tempted between B and C. I might end up changing these as we do them. For now, I'm going to put Phantasia in B rank, but I might end up moving it down. B rank feels a little high. I might move it down. We'll see, though. As I rank and talk about more of the games, I'll probably move it up and down. But yeah, let's talk about Tales of Phantasia, the very first Tales game in this series. This got the series off to a really good start. This is the first game, and I'd say it's pretty darn good. I don't think it's anything like, I mean, I do think it's special, but I don't think it's anything fantastic. But I think it's a pretty good game. I really did enjoy this one. The story is pretty simple, but it has some cool elements. There's actually time travel in this one, which is pretty awesome. You end up going to the past, and you have to collect these mage characters to defeat Dios in the present. It's a super cool premise. I think that's one of my favorite things about the story in Phantasia. It's a really simple premise, but I really love the time travel. I think time travel was pretty cool. It was pretty well executed in this game. I don't think it was, like, amazing, but I thought it was a pretty good plot. The plot line in Phantasia was pretty good. It's pretty basic. It doesn't do anything super outstanding, but I think the time travel backdrop works really well for the game. I do really enjoy it. Same could be said for the characters. I don't think the characters are that deep, but they're really simple, yet they're charming. I think they're neat. Cress is a pretty basic protagonist, but he's like the first one, so he gets a bit of a pass. Mint, you have the pure-hearted healer. She's neat. Not one of my favorites. You got Life of the Party Arch, who has some fun moments in the game, and you got like Chester and Klaus and stuff, like the straight man to Arch and everything. The characters have a really cool dynamic. You also got some optional characters. Well, one of them is optional. Suzu, the ninja, she was pretty cool. She had a really cool side quest that she's optional. There's a new character, Rondalyn, if you're playing the Cross Edition, and she was really cool. However, the thing with her is she feels kind of shoehorned in because of this new version. Maybe she links to Nikiri Dungeon X, which isn't the main line, but yeah. So, overall, I thought the characters were solid. I thought they were a solid cast of characters. This version has skits as well. I think like the PS1 version, there are skits, so it adds more to the characters. So the skits do better for the characters in this game. Still not the best cast, but overall, they're the first cast. And for the first cast in the series of bangers, because let me just tell you, all these games on here, I don't think any of them are like bad games. I don't think any of these games are bad. So yeah, I think in a list of bangers, the cast in this game, pretty good. I like them. I like them a lot. And now let's talk about the gameplay. And again, this is going to be Cross Edition because I played Cross Edition. It's that 2D classic feel, and it's pretty fun. You got your arts, you got your attacks, and you got your mages. Spell freezing is gone for this version. If you're wanting to play Phantasia, play Cross Edition. Cross Edition is the one I would recommend. Like, you get rid of spell freezing, it's just more fast, it's more fluid, you get Rondolin added to the team, but overall, I think the combat is a lot of fun. I think it's a fun combat system. Obviously, it's a little dated, but again, Cross Edition feels a lot more modern, basically. I do think it kind of messes with the difficulty in this one. I think this one can feel a little easier than how the original was, because getting rid of spell freezing messes with the difficulty, but honestly, I think it's fine, because when Phantasia was difficult on the original hardware, it was because, oh, a spell came off and it froze your game. So I don't think the game's like piss easy or anything. I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it's terribly easy, but it does, like, it feels a little easier than it was intended. But honestly, it's still a really good combat system, and honestly, I don't think I would want this game to be too hard anyway, so yeah. But overall, I'm trying to think of Tales of Phantasia here. The music's also really good in this game. I think the music for the first in the series, really good soundtrack. I'm trying to think of, like, things I like and don't like. The thing with Phantasia is, I think it's a really good game. It doesn't do that much wrong. Well, okay, there is one thing it does wrong, a couple. But even the things it does wrong, they're not detrimental flaws, but it also doesn't have any, like, really big strengths, other than being the first one and laying the groundwork for the series. Like, some of the flaws I could think of, again, because I can talk spoilers, for, like, that first half of the game, you only have mage characters, which is kind of remedied in this version. Remember that issue in Phantasia, how you have Klaus, Arch, Cress, and Mint for, like, the whole first half of the game? That's kind of remedied because, again, spells don't freeze the game, so it's not as bad. That problem is rectified, so that's really good. That's rectified in Cross Edition. I think another thing is, so much of the game, like, I think once you go back to the future, or once you go to the present and then the future, and you get Chester and Suzu, there's not much game left. I think too much of the game was in the past, and I think the second half, or the second, like, quarter, feels really brief and not much happens. It's kind of just like, alright, we know what we need to do to beat Dios, like, get these swords, then we're done. Kind of just, like, bolts to the finish line when the pacing was really good. So I think the pacing's, like, I think it gets brisk fast after beating Dios in his castle for the first time. But that's really the only big issue I can think of. Again, all my other issues with Phantasia have been addressed in Cross Edition, like spells don't freeze the game anymore, skits add more to the characters because I played the GBA version. You can there's still random encounters, but holy bottles, there's an enhanced holy bottle effect where you can make it where enemies don't encounter you at all, even with holy bottles, which is really good. But the thing is with Phantasia, there's not many amazing things. The best thing I can say about this game is it's the first one and it did really good. It holds up really well as the first entry in the series. That's the best thing I can say about it. There's not many strengths beyond that, but there's also not many glaring flaws with it. So, yeah, I think for now we'll keep it Phantasia in B tier. I might end up moving it, but we shall see. Okay. Tales of Destiny. This is specifically talking about Director's Cut, because I played both versions of Destiny. I played the PS1 version, but I played the PS2 version more recently, and I have a lot to say on this. Now, this is going to come as a bit of a surprise. I'm going to put this in C tier. Now, hear me out here. I was super excited. Like, super excited to try this game. Like, when I was younger, like, before my channel, I was very excited to play Destiny Director's Cut. Like, I saw the game in Japan. I was super excited. Like, oh, man, I hope this gets an English version. Like, this was one of my most anticipated Tales games because the combat looked so fun. And it was adding more to the characters. It was giving us skits from Destiny. And, like, everything I saw on it, combo videos, whatever, it looked so amazing. I was so excited to try it. And when I finally played it, I did enjoy it, but I found myself disappointed with it, to be honest. Now, I'm going to talk a bit about Destiny as a whole itself. the thing is, director's cut, it makes some story changes, nothing drastic, but I found myself disappointed with this game a little bit, like the remake of Destiny. The original Destiny, I think it's fine. I think it has some problems in the age department, like the encounter rate and the spell freezing and the combat. Like, so I'm not gonna really be talking about the original other than like the story because they're similar, but director's cut. The story in Destiny is pretty good. I think it's a solid story. It's kind of like Phantasia. I don't think it's anything like groundbreaking or anything. It starts off, the first half starts off really basic and generic, and then the second half goes to some cool areas with the Aether Sphere, and you learn of the villain's true motivations, and that's when the story really gets going. I think that stuff's pretty cool. I like the Swordians in the game. The Swordians were a super cool concept, how the characters have these talking swords, basically, like, and they have really cool dynamics with their sword users, like Clemente is like a father figure, sort of, or the grandpa of the group to Xillia, or Deimos and Stan have their dynamic, and Atwet's like the motherly figure. I think that was really cool. I think the Swordians were cool, and the skits added to them. The skits in this game were pretty good. I really did like the characters and the Swordians. I thought they were really good. So that was really nice, all of that. I think the overall story of Destiny is, I think it's fine. I'm trying to think, like, I think I thought highly of the story prior, but then when I played the PS2 version on the channel, which was the only time I played the PS2 version, I don't know. I didn't really hate the story, but I didn't really love it. I kind of was just like, it was just kind of meh. It was just okay. It was passable. It was a passable story. So, I mean, yeah. They also, Director's Cut also makes the optional characters like Mary, Johnny, and Chelsea, it makes them mandatory now. So they're integrated into the story. And how do they do with that? They do alright, I guess. They still don't really, like, feel part of the story. Their little arcs just feel included. Like, you have that little Moreau section with Johnny, or Carol, or I call him Johnny. Well, some of them are, but I'm used to calling him Johnny. Johnny, Carol, whatever. So, yeah, like, they add that to the thing. Like, they try to integrate them into the main plot, but they still kind of feel sidelined. That's not really an issue. It's just something I thought I'd mention. But anyway, yeah. So, I really did like the characters in this game. I thought they were really good. Like, Mary is one of my favorite characters in Tales of Destiny. Stan's a lovable protagonist. I think he's really cool. And some of the characters are really good. Like, the characters are really, really fun in Destiny. And they're brought even higher with the skits. The skits get to paint them in new light. Some of the side quests, I remember having some good moments in there as well. I just really liked it. I didn't talk about this with Phantasia, but Dios was he was a good first antagonist, you know. It kind of just shoved his backstory at the very end of Phantasia, which they could have done better. I forgot to talk about that. I forgot to talk about that with Phantasia. But, yeah, I thought Dios was an interesting villain. But, Tales of Destiny's villains are kind of underwhelming, honestly. I think the villains in Destiny are also underwhelming. That's the thing. Phantasia did better in the villain department. Like, the final villain kind of just comes out of nowhere in this one. And some of the other villains, like the Oberon people, like Irene and stuff, becoming the villains is like, it's not my favorite. Some of their motivations, like, are just kind of like, okay, sure, whatever you say. It kind of just feels like they needed villains for this one. They didn't know what to do after Batista and Leiden. Or Leiden, was that his name? I think it was Leiden. I don't remember. The guy with the Eye of Antimony. But anyway, yeah, villains were lacking. I forgot to talk about that with Phantasia, but Dios was a pretty solid first villain. Anyway, yeah, so Tales of Destiny. Let's talk about the gameplay in Destiny, Director's Cut. Now, this is where the game disappointed me the most, because this is what I saw of the game, and I was super excited to play it. Like, I was really pumped to play this game. It looked so fun. It had a CC, and you got to, like, chain stuff together, kind of like Graces. It was a Team Destiny game, and I love Graces, so I was super pumped to play this. And when I finally played it, I thought it was fun, don't get me wrong, but there were also a lot of issues in it. The weakness system plagues this game, so if your character does not have the element or attribute that the enemy doesn't resist, you're screwed. It's kind of like Xillia 2 in that aspect, with the weakness system. So that was unfortunate as well. There were also just some, I think being on a 2D plane there were some enemies and bosses that were just ridiculous in this game because of that. So you still had the limits of that, but unfortunately, as the combo potential could be really good in this game, I just couldn't really like get down with it. I think this game is fun to watch, and when you master it, I think it's really fun to like combo things to death, but I was never a master at this game, and I think that kind of put a damper on the combat. I think what I saw of the combat, I expected more of it. Maybe I set my expectations too high because I was super pumped to play this game, but yeah, the combat was good. It just, I don't know, it just had a lot of issues in it. Some classic 2D stuff and the weakness system, those are like the biggest ones, but they're pretty big issues for me from like enjoying this game. That being said, again, still really enjoyed the gameplay. I thought it was really fun. Overall, the more I think about Tales of Destiny, the more I think, yeah, it's a good game, but like, I'm trying to think, like, there's not really a lot of glowing praise I can give to it, but it does everything pretty solid. Again, like, none of these games are bad, so even the ones like in D tier and C tier are still alright to good games. I'll probably end up switching these. Again, these aren't finalized yet. But yeah, that's Tales of Destiny Director's Cut. I give it a C tier for now. And now we're going to move on to Tales of Eternia, and this is an easy A rank here. Tales of Eternia will be remastered very soon. This game is like, this is where Tales of knew what they wanted. This is where they knew what direction they wanted to go in. They have the Two Worlds plot that returns, which I think the story in Eternia is actually pretty good. It's pretty simple, but I think it really works. You have to collect the Summon Spirits. The Summon Spirits become a big part of Tales of, starting with this game. This set a lot of staples for Tales of, and I think it did really well in that. The characters as well are really charming. I really like Reed, Farah, Keel, and Meredy. I think they're a really great group. I really like them. The childhood friends are great, and they include Meredy in their dynamic, and I think it's really good. They have like nice cutscenes and campfire skits. This game was robbed of skits, which is so upsetting because I would love skits with these guys, but fortunately the remaster looks to be adding the skits, which I'm really excited to play this game again with the skits and seeing, just making me fall in love with the cast all over again. Overall though, the story in this game, I don't think the story in this game is amazing. It's not going to win any awards, but I think it's really good. The main antagonist, Nerid, in this game, or Shizel being possessed by Nerid, it's a good blueprint for later villains, especially the next one in the next game we're going to talk about. It's a good blueprint for future ones. I don't think Nerid and Shizel is anything to write home about, but all the great villains in Tales of, I think we have to look back at Eternia's main antagonists to really understand what makes them great. Reed, Farah, and Keel, and Meredy are great characters. They don't have like the best character growth of all time or anything, but I think they're really good. Like, Reed is not like your everyday protagonist. He's lazy and he doesn't want to like, he doesn't want to be a hero. That's actually Farah. She wants to be a hero. She's like, maybe we could be heroes. Yeah, no problem, etc. So that's her thing. She kind of plays more like she acts more like the protagonist of the other two games, Destiny and Phantasia. That's really cool. Well, now let's talk about the gameplay. And the gameplay is probably one of the weaker elements of Eternia. It is, it's the third game, and this is the PS1 version. This game has not been remade like Destiny or Phantasia in the same vein. This is actually the first time we're getting a modern release of Eternia in so long. So, yeah, hopefully, you know, maybe it'll make the combat fluid. While I do like the combat, it's probably my least favorite thing about the game. There's some stun locking that some bosses do, and it's not super fast. It could be a little clunky and slow. But overall, I think it's still a fun combat system, especially when you take into account it's like the third game in the series. And this is like on the PS1. I think it's still a fun combat system. There's still some cool stuff you can do. I don't really have much to say beyond that. Well, actually, I do have a lot more to say, because something really cool about this game is the Cradle Cage system, which I didn't really talk about progression systems, but Phantasia didn't really have a progression system, and Destiny did, which was the sorting device in Director's Cut, which was pretty cool in how you learn skills. But Tales of Eternia's Cradle Cage was really cool, because your two mages, Meredy and Keel, they get summon spirits, basically. They get the summon spirits, and you can actually summon them whenever you want, kind of like Sheena in Symphonia. We're going to talk about her soon. We'll talk about her game soon. So that was really cool. The more you use her elements, the more you can like summon them. That was a cool aspect of the combat, getting to summon the spirits. That was awesome. So there are some cool elements in the combat here. It's not my favorite combat system. It's pretty dated, but it's still fun. It still has some fun moments for sure. But yeah, I mean, like Tales of Eternia, it's definitely up there as one of my favorites. It's pretty high up there. It's my favorite of the classic games. Like games Symphonia and before Symphonia, whatever. It's like one of the best. It is one of the best classic Tales games to play, and now, thanks to the remaster, so many people are going to get to experience it, and I'm super excited for that. But overall, I think this one's going to stay in A tier. I don't see this changing. I think A tier is solid for Tales of Eternia. It's a really great game, and I recommend picking up the remaster when it drops. Alright, it's finally time for the very first Tales game I played, Tales of Symphonia. So, this goes over Eternia. I'm just thinking if I want to put this in S or A tier. I'm going to put this in A. This will be above. Yeah, I think I like Symphonia more than Eternia. But yeah, Tales of Symphonia. I remember being super pumped to play this game and getting it for my GameCube. It was a really fun experience, and it got me into the series, so I mean, it did good enough to want me to play the rest of the games. But yeah, Tales of Symphonia, really, really great game. I love this game a lot. The story in this game is actually really dang good. I really love the themes in it of like the two worlds again returns, summon spirits. This game feels like it took everything Eternia did and built up on it. So I thought that was really good. I really did enjoy that. Symphonia has one of the better plots in the series. It's not perfect. There are some. It's not the best story ever. It's still not perfect. I think of these games though, it has the best story. Like of the games we talked about already, I think it's the best story, even though there's not much competition in that. But yeah, I think the story is really good. I really like the first half of going to the seals and Colette being the chosen and everything, and then it turns into so much more. Like when you get to the Remiel fight and then the Kratos fight, spoiler, but of course you should have expected it. When you get to that moment, it's like, man, now the game evolves into this grand epic of like the Tetheala section and like trying to find a way to save both worlds instead of just Silveron, seeing the bigger picture. I really do like that aspect of Symphonia. And the characters in this game are also amazing. Really great characters. I think Lloyd is a solid protagonist. He's really cool. He's probably not as good as Reed as a protagonist, but I think he's really good. And there are some really great characters like Genis, Colette, Rain, Presea, Regal. Kratos is my favorite character in Symphonia, one of my favorite characters in the series. I really did like him. His dynamic with Lloyd and just his voice actor and everything about Kratos is just amazing. It's really good. Overall though, I think the biggest thing about Symphonia's plot is there's some moments in the Tetheala section onward that it has some pacing issues later in the game. There's just some parts of the game that are like, all right, now we're doing this. The story feels like, it feels all over the place and like what you should be doing, but it doesn't bring the story down too much. It just loses its footing. But I mean, that's bound to happen with a longer game like this, even though Symphonia is not a super long game upon replays. But overall though, the characters are really great. The gameplay is really fun. I think the gameplay is much better than Eternia. It's still not an amazing combat system, like you can't free run with the later games, but it's the perfect bridge from this game to like Abyss or something. Because I played Abyss. Like Abyss was, I didn't play the next two games for a while. So it's a really good aspect on that. I think it's really good. It's a simple combat system. The X-Gems are a cool level up system, good way to get skills. And the Unison attacks are also really cool. The Unison attacks, basically you chain different arts together and you can make combos. It's a good precursor to Xillia's Link system. That was really awesome as well. So the combat's just like classic Tales of fun. There's not much I can say great about it, and there's not much I can say like bad about it. Hey, it works. It works for the game. It's a good foundation for the later games. It's better than Eternia, and the future games continue to improve it. So it's just really good. And the music is also really good. I really like the Symphonia soundtrack. I think the Symphonia soundtrack is one of my personal favorites, just because there's a lot of personal bias towards it. But I think it's a really good soundtrack nonetheless. I just love this game. Like, I really do. It's probably like, it's definitely up there. You'll actually see how high it is, because again, this is ordered. But Symphonia is just an incredible game. There's so much like optional stuff and side quests to do and everything. And there's a lot here. This is like I said Eternia is when Tales of knew what they were doing, but Symphonia just further emphasizes that. It's just like, it took everything Eternia did and did some things better. There are some things Eternia did better, like, I think Reed is a better protagonist than Lloyd, even though Lloyd is pretty cool. But other than that, like, I think Symphonia is just, I think it's just phenomenal. I think it's a solid starting point for the series. I think it's really good, because this game got me into the rest of the series, so it was just really, really fun. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I didn't talk about with Symphonia. I think we're good. There are puzzles in this game. This game actually has puzzles. This is like the first puzzle-driven. Phantasia and Eternia and Destiny had gimmicks, but Symphonia's puzzles feel more thought-provoking. So the dungeons in Symphonia are definitely some of my favorites in gaming. So yeah, that's Tales of Symphonia, the very first Tales game I played. Still remains very highly on my list. I have nothing but great praise for this game with a couple of hiccups. It's still awesome, still amazing. Alright, and now we're moving on to Tales of Rebirth, which is a game I only played recently. This is where the ranking gets a little crazy. I'm trying to think of like where I rank these games. This is going in A tier, I think. I just need to like, I'm just thinking of where to place it, like, because this is ordered. I don't like this game as much as Symphonia. I think this might just go under Eternia, actually. Yeah, I think for now this is gonna go under Eternia. Yeah, we'll keep it in A tier there. But Tales of Rebirth is, man, like the story, it's deep. It is a deep story. Tales of Rebirth. Tales of Rebirth. It is like, it's like full-on racism. It's like how to make the world a better place, trying to help Humas and Gajumas get over their problems and everything. It is a lot. It's hard focused on the racism. Like, that is its focus, and I think it's really good. I didn't really love the story in Rebirth, but I think it was really good, and it had some really cool elements in it. There was a neat thing in this game. Something this game did really neat was the whole Claire and Agarte thing. So if you don't know, Claire and Agarte end up switching bodies. So, Agarte, a Gajuma, a half Gajuma, and Claire, a human, they end up switching bodies. So Claire gets to see things from Agarte's perspective and vice versa. I thought that was really cool. I think they could have done the twist better. Like, I don't think they did it that well in terms of like, you know, leading up to like the fact that they were switched. I feel like, oh yeah, Claire just suddenly gone quiet and then she's actually Agarte, it's not actually Claire. But I thought that was a really cool twist. I think the end goal of the twist, I think what they were trying to achieve with the twist was good. I think they could have used a bit more work in getting to that point, but looking back on it, I think it was good. I think it was a good twist. It was super experimental, super unique, like super out there, and I think it was a good risk they took. Well, I don't know about risk, but it was a good experimental thing they did. It's something that you wouldn't even think of, but I think it was really good. I think it was well done. I think the thing is with Tales of Rebirth is the mid-game kind of falls flat. I think the pacing in the mid-game is the weakest point of the story, because it kind of just becomes like when you're looking for the trials. I really like the trials, like Vague's trial, Titchu's trial. I like the trials a lot, but the in-betweens of looking for those trials is like, oh, Humas and Gajumas aren't getting along. Oh, this town is having problems. It kind of gets like repetitive and been there, done that. I think the mid-game is like the worst part of the story. But the trials are really cool because it focuses on the characters' like inner strings and like how they grow, basically. It's their development. So that's really cool. Overall, I don't like think the story's amazing, but I think the story is really, really good. I think it's a pretty darn good story. Like, I don't think it's as good as Symphonia. I think I like the Symphonia plot better than the Rebirth plot, but I think I do like this plot more than Eternia when it comes to the plot, like the story of the game. Because Rebirth was willing to take risks. I think it took some risks, and it mostly succeeded, but it took risks in combat and story. And with that, we can segue into the combat, which this game, it's divisive in the combat. I think this is the love or hate Tales game. Some people are going to hate the combat, some people are going to love it. Now, I'm on the side that loves it. I will say, though, it took me a while to get it down. I think Rebirth has a learning curve, and if you're willing to stick with the learning curve, you can really nail down the combat. I think you have a pretty good combat, and unique combat. It's a unique combat system. You got these, like, force cubes and stuff, and you use arts, and you can, like, chain them together, kind of like your classic. It doesn't use CC, but you have your basic attacks, and you have 4 arts set, and they're on like a cooldown. There's no TP. The Force Cube was convoluted, the cube that gives you like bonuses. The one thing about the combat I don't like in Rebirth is lack of healing. The game relies a lot on HP regen, and I think that was kind of a mistake. I think the HP regen is fine, but I think the HP regen should either be better or it should have healing arts. A couple of healing arts is not gonna hurt the game or anything. You could still have the HP regen be a thing. That was my biggest thing with Rebirth that I didn't really like. And another thing is, Mystic Arts are random in this game, which is unfortunate. I think every character should have at least gotten a Mystic Art, and then they could have had the combo Mystic Arts, which were procced on it. But overall, I really did like the combat system in Rebirth. I like the enhancing system you can do, the different arts you can use. It was really fun. I liked the RG system as well, like the more RG, what's it called, RG? The more RG you had, I think you did more damage and you took more damage. It had a good risk-reward system. And again, I totally understand some people aren't going to like this combat system. This is the love or hate combat system, for sure. And in the early game, I was like, combat seems cool. But as I learned it and as I played more of it, I did grow to really love it and really appreciate it. So I really did like the combat system a lot, and I appreciated that they were willing to try something new with the series. Like, it's still Tales of, but they tried some new stuff. That was really cool. And then, I'm trying to think, the characters we didn't talk about yet, which the characters are really great in this game. I really like them. Vague's a, you know, he's more of an introverted protagonist. They could have done his character arc better. His character arc could have used some work. I really like that scene at the end game with him and Titri, but his character arc could have used some work, but I think he's a cool character on paper. He's still good. I don't think he's bad. And then you got characters like Mao. Mao's like the life of the party, and then like Eugene's the older one. He's cool. Hilda had a really nice backstory, being half human, half Gajuma. And Annie, Annie's character is basically her seeing Huma and Gajuma for who they are and not what they are. So there's that as well. And then, am I forgetting a character? Oh, Titri. Titri is my favorite character in this game. He's awesome. Like, he's just awesome. He's really cool. But yeah, the characters in Rebirth were really, really good. Like, really, really great characters. I did like them a lot. I liked them. Not as much as, like, the Symphonia and Eternia group, but I did like them a good amount. And yeah, Tales of Rebirth, it's just a really good game. I'm glad we got to play this game in English. I was really... I liked it. I really enjoyed it. But yeah, Tales of Rebirth, solid A tier, just under these two. And then now we get into Tales of Legendia. And this one hurts. This one hurts a lot, because I'm thinking about this game. And it just really, really hurts. Now, I'm going to talk about what I really like about Legendia, because there's a good amount I like about Legendia. And there's a good amount of things that are stopping this game from being any higher than the C tier in my mind. But let's talk about Tales of Legendia. Tales of Legendia, it's a good game, because again, none of these games are bad. Actually, wait, is this one over Destiny? This one might be over Destiny. Yeah, I have this on my list. This is just over Destiny. Yeah, alright. Yeah. Okay, cool. But, Tales of Legendia, alright. Let's just talk about the positives with this game. The characters in this game are super charming. Really love the characters in the game. I think it has one of the better casts in the series. They feel like they feel like a family in the second half of the game. They feel like such a great group. They have really good comedic moments. It's also pretty funny and charming. It's a really good cast of characters. Really, really great. You got like Senno, Chloe, who's amazing, Norma, Will, Jay. Great characters. Just amazing characters. I really did like them. The first half was like the story was the backdrop and then the characters were there, but then the second half dove into their character backstories. And now my issues with Legendia aren't what you guys think. Like, I think the strong points of this game are the characters. I think the characters that was the best thing about this game. The music was also really good. I think the characters was the best thing about Tales of Legendia, and that's what kept me going through like the 50-hour journey, because this game took me close to 50 hours. So, if you don't know, Tales of Legendia is segmented into two halves. It's the first half and the second half. The first half is your pretty standard plot. It's pretty good. It's kind of like Tales of Eternia and Phantasia, where it's like a simple plot, but it works. I didn't think it was anything great, but I didn't think it was anything bad either. I thought it was a good enough plot. And the thing is, the only characters that really get focus are Senno and Shirley. They're the only ones that actually get focus, mostly Senno. The second half of the game is the character quests. And this is where the game lost me. While it's awesome that the characters get their own quests and get their own fleshing out they desperately needed, I think this game is not fun enough to justify the second half. I think that's my issue with it. I don't think it's like, oh, the character quest should have been in the first half. I think the two halves is fine for a plot line, but I think there's two issues with Legendia. I think there's one is the combat. The combat in Legendia is just not that fun the longer it goes on. It starts off fine enough, kind of like Eternia, but then boss fights in this game are just really not fun to fight. And the second half has you re-fighting boss fights that you already fought, going through dungeons that you've already been through. I do not think there were enough areas, like there was no need for a second half in terms of the context of the game. Like they should have added like a new area or something, or it could have like mixed up the fields, or even just something like Lineage and Legacies does in Graces where like at least some areas are different. Like it kind of just feels like Legendia they didn't have enough areas to justify a second half. I think the second half could have worked. The first and second halves could have been fine, because here's the thing, right? I think the second half, if you were to take out all the fluff, I think it's like 10 hours, 10 to 15 hours. It doesn't have to be super long, but Legendia has ways of padding out its second half. And honestly, like, here's the thing. I think if the game had been... I think if you added all the character backstories in the first half, if you just resolved them in the first half and didn't have a second half, I think that would feel have Legendia feel bloated. I think no matter what, Legendia feels like a longer game, but you still could have cut off like 10 to 15 hours of the game just by letting you like fast travel other dungeons, or like, you know, not letting you travel through the same dungeons. I kind of wish they took the Xenogears approach and made the second half more streamlined than it actually was. So, yeah, I think that's really what it is. I think the way I would have done it is, I would have introduced all the character quests, like their sub-stories in the first half, and you could have resolved them. You could have used the second half to resolve those character quests. That would have been a good way to do it. You would have had to play the game, the second half, to see them end, but that would have been a good way to do it. So, that's what I would have done. But overall, I think the characters in Legendia are the best thing about the game. The gameplay is pretty slow and pretty clunky, and the boss fights, I think, are what drag it down. And it's just like I'm going through the same areas again just to get these like cutscenes with the characters, which they're nice, and that's the reason I kept going. The second half was worth it for the character moments, I thought. Like, it was worth it, but it was such a chore to play. So if Legendia had more fun combat and, you know, a justifiable, like a more game to justify its half or its second half, this could easily be like an A or B tier. But I think as a game, Legendia is just one of the weaker ones, because to actually play Legendia became like a chore. It just felt like a chore to play Legendia second half onward. Unfortunately, that's just how it went. But I really do love some of the characters. Like Chloe's one of my favorites, and Jay was really cool. I liked his story a good deal. Groon, I didn't really like Groon's resolution that much, but she was nice for the early game at least. And great characters though, like really, really great dynamic. I really did. I liked a lot of them, some more than others, but I really did love the characters in this game. And if the game was more fun, this can easily be a B or even an A tier. But unfortunately, Legendia I just started to feel burnt out with the game, gameplay wise, and it just, yeah, unfortunately, it just ends up at the lower list. But it's still really good. I still recommend it. But yeah, we're gonna move on to Tales of the Abyss next. Alright, Tales of the Abyss. This one is going to probably anger some people. Maybe not anger, but shock some people. Now, it's definitely an A tier. But I think I like these three, Symphonia, Eternia, and Rebirth, more than Tales of the Abyss. Now, there's actually some things, talking about it with Rebirth, because it's right under Rebirth, there's some things I like better in Tales of the Abyss for sure, and that is the story. I think the story in Tales of the Abyss is a lot better than the Rebirth one, and there are a couple of aspects for that. I really like the score and everything. That's a cool concept. It's a cool story. Like, it was never one of my favorites, but I overall really like the story. I think a big reason why the story works so well is the God Generals. I think the God Generals are really good, like, rival characters to the protagonist. I think they sort of make the story, like, they make the story for me at least. I think the core story itself is, like, it's good. It's a good story, but I really did like the antagonist in the game. Van is also a solid main antagonist. I think the villains in Tales of the Abyss are really good, especially the God Generals. They show up really frequently. They have really good motivations and stuff and like reasons for what they're doing. They parallel the main party members. They do that in some of the later Tales games where they have like antagonists parallel party members, and I feel like this is the first game that really focuses that. I think this is the game that sets that staple into place, so that's really cool. I really did like them. Overall though, it was a really good story, and the characters in this game are amazing. This game has some of the best character development in any Tales of game, for sure. You got Luke, who starts off as like an asshole, and then he grows into someone who wants to like do what's best for people and like really make up for that one mistake he makes at the end of Act 1 in Xillia, because he feels responsible for that. So he changes. He has like a whole haircut scene and everything. It's really good. It's really, really good. Good development from him. The others also are really good as well. I really love Tyr. Tyr is one of my favorites. I really did like her. Jade is just really fun and awesome. Guy is also really awesome. He's got some cool moments. Annis is pretty good too. She's got some neat stuff going for her. And then Natalia had some really, really good stuff. The characters in this game are really good. I really did like their dynamics and their growth. I think Tales of the Abyss, one of the things that resonates me with the game, like that I really like about the characters is, I think this game highlights the flaws of the characters super well. Like, you have Luke, I just mentioned Luke, but I think every character in this game is guilty of something, even if it's like a small error on their part, whether it's keeping a secret or something. This game, I feel like, purposefully really highlights the flaws of the characters, and it makes their growth feel really satisfying, because you get to see them overcome that, and you get to see, like, there's this one line that Jade says where, like, humans, I don't remember the exact line, but it was like humans are imperfect or something. And that really sets the focal point for what I think of this game and the characters. It's really good. I really did like it. The character development was amazing. Really good characters. Story was really good, like the God Generals. And the gameplay in Tales of the Abyss, it's good. I think this is where I prefer Rebirth in the combat system. I think the combat system in Abyss is fun. Don't get me wrong. The FOFs are a cool addition, and the chambers are okay as a progression system. I think the progression system in Abyss is not one of my favorites. And the combat system, it's just Tails Up. It's fun Tails Up. You get free running. This is the first game with free running, so that's good that Abyss did. The 80 skills are here. But I think Abyss is fun, but I think comparing it to the other Tales games, its combat is just kind of vanilla. It's a good combat system. It's a fun combat system, don't get me wrong. But it doesn't really have as many, perks that help it stand out to the combat. I think that's the worst I could say about it, which isn't even really much of a flaw. The FOFs were cool. They were kind of a precursor to a thing in a later Tales game, but FOFs were awesome. But overall, you will play Tales of the Abyss and you'll have a really good combat system. It's a really good combat system to support the game. And one last thing before we move on from Abyss, because I pretty much talked about all the high points, but it's not perfect. Similar to Rebirth, I think the mid-game of Abyss kind of falls off pacing-wise, where you're just going back to towns and the story kind of takes a while to... It's like crawling, it's not moving super fast. The mid-game of Abyss, I think, is kind of weak. Kind of like Tales of Rebirth. The opening act and the final act in Abyss are great. I think the middle of Abyss it's a little slow for my liking. I think it has some pacing issues in the middle part, but it doesn't bring the game down too much. It's still really great. And yeah, I'm trying to think of what else. I think I got everything. Overlimit, Mystic Art. Overlimit's easier to proc in this game. That's cool. And then the Mystic Arts are awesome. But yeah, Tales of the Abyss is phenomenal. I really love it, and I'm putting it right here under Rebirth in A tier. Alright, we're on Tales of Innocence now, and... Alright, this game, it's going in D tier. I think after thinking about it, and especially after finishing Zestiria recently on my channel, I think Tales of Innocence is my least favorite Tales game in the mainline series. This game, I don't know what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting it to be my least favorite, though. But, yeah, so Tales of Innocence here, let's get diving into the game. It has a really cool concept with, like, reincarnation playing a big part into the story. Each of the characters have, like, a past life and stuff, and the characters are all interesting. The problem with it, though, it doesn't deliver on its potential. It's a super promising setup that just doesn't deliver on the story. A lot of the story in Tales of Innocence is finding these memory springs, the characters trying to find their memories, but it feels like not a lot is accomplished as you're doing that. It doesn't feel like much is done. And then later in the game, when the plot starts to get serious, stuff just starts happening. Like, oh my word, Ange is a traitor for a little bit. Ricardo betrays us for a bit. Stuff like that. And the antagonists were also disappointing. I can't really remember too many of them. There's only one I really remember, and that's Hosta. He's kind of like Zagi 2.0. But other than that, I can't really remember much of the villains. But overall, Innocence's story is just very disappointing because it's this really cool, unique premise that doesn't reach its potential. I don't really have much to say on it, honestly. Like, I barely even remember some of the main story beats. I named some of them, like I know Ricardo betrays the party at one point, and there's this part where Ange is fighting with someone from her past life or something, or like betrays you for a time. Like, and I just remember the characters in the game also aren't that good. There are a lot of skits in this game, but the Innocence cast is one of the most toxic group of characters in the series. You got like Xillia constantly like trying to man up Ruka in the worst way possible. Then you got like Spada, who joins in with Xillia at times, so he kind of bullies. And I've heard people defend it like, oh, that's just how friends are sometimes. And listen, groups of people tease each other sometimes, that's normal, but in Tales of Innocence, it feels like they go too far. Even if there is a hidden meaning, like Xillia's doing it for a reason. She actually likes Ruka. One of the worst romances in the series, and they go really far with it in Innocence R, like too far with it. The characters I actually like in this game are Kongwei and QQ. I think they're really cool, but the problem is, they don't really get focus in the game, because they're added to the R version, so they feel kind of just there. So that was really disappointing. The characters in general just weren't that good. I can't even think of any that were like amazing, but some of them were alright, but then some of them were just downright bad. But yeah, story's done, characters done, gameplay. The gameplay's fun. The gameplay has, it kind of plays like Hearts R. It's like a predecessor to Hearts R. Kind of plays like Abyss and those games. It's fun, but here's the thing. I think the combat just doesn't have that much to stand out. It's kind of like what I said about Abyss. Abyss had like FOS, but remember when I said Abyss kind of feels it doesn't have a lot of unique mechanics to it? Innocence R is more guilty of this problem. The one like original, there's two things that Innocence R has that other games don't have. There's the counter system, and there's the rave system. The rave system is interesting. Basically, the better you do in combat, the more you combo, the more bonuses you'll get. So maybe you'll get like reduced TP costs, or maybe you'll get like increased damage or stuff like that. So the better you perform, the more bonuses you get. That's cool, but that was like the only new thing. And then there's like the counter system, where like if you guard at the right time, you can counter. I never mastered that, so yeah. But Innocence R's combat is solid. I don't really have much to say on it. It's a good combat system. There's just not a lot that helps it stand out from the other games in the series. And I'm trying to think, like, that's really what it comes down to. I think Innocence R had decent dungeons. I think there were some gimmicks, but not a lot. They were still not departing from that, but and the game isn't super long. It's like a 20 to 30 hour game depending, so I think that length kind of hurts Innocence R, because a lot of the endgame feels really rushed and backloaded with all this lore dump stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think what it comes down to is the toxic relationship of the characters at times, like going too far with it, the story not reaching its potential, and the gameplay not having anything super standard about it. I still wouldn't say Innocence R is a bad game. I still think this game is like a 5 to a 6 out of 10. It's still a pretty solid game to play, and it's not super long, but it's definitely the weakest in the Tales of series in my opinion. But overall, not a bad game, just really, really weak in this series of great games. But yeah, that's really all I have to say on Innocence R. So we're gonna move on to Tales of Vesperia, which this is gonna upset a lot of people. That I really, really like Vesperia. I'm putting this in B tier though, above Phantasia. I think I like Abyss more than Vesperia. Yeah, I think I like Abyss more than Vesperia. But I really like Vesperia. It's a really good game. I've gone on record to say it's not one of my favorites in the series, but I really do. I do enjoy this game a good amount. We're gonna dive into it after that Innocence R slander. But let's start with Yuri as a protagonist, who is amazing. He's one of the best leads in the series. Really, really good protagonist. Yeah, so Yuri was a great protagonist. He was really, felt really refreshing, where he's not really, he's like a vigilante anti-hero, but not really. feels different than a lot of the other protagonists, because as much as I love this series, a good amount of the protagonists are kind of like the same trope, but they do some cool stuff with them, like Lloyd and Cress and stuff, and like Stan. They're good characters, but at the end of the day, they feel like, you know, they still feel like the same trope, but they feel more unique. But Yuri is like, Yuri's different. Yuri, like, gets things done. He does what he believes in, no matter what the public thinks of him. I think that's really good. So I opened with Yuri because that's, when I think of Vesperia, that's one of the strongest points of the game. Like, that's what I think of immediately. And the other characters are really good as well, like Estelle and Carol and Rita. They got some great skits together. And yeah, the story is interesting in Vesperia. I think it's alright. The game kind of has like two different plots in it. Like, it starts off like you're kind of just following, you're looking for Flynn, and it eventually evolves into what is true justice. Flynn and Yuri have this parallel dynamic. And at the end, it kind of devolves into like global warming and like Blastias and stuff. It kind of has a lot going on, which I think makes the Vesperia plot not the best, but overall, I think the story is, I think it's good enough to support the characters. I think seeing Yuri and the other characters, and Flynn, Yuri and Flynn's dynamic, I think that makes it worth it. I think it works. The story in Vesperia works. I would never give it any accolade for best story ever, but I definitely don't think it's bad. And a lot of people say like the third act kind of feels rushed and everything, and I can kind of see why, but I don't think it's that much of a problem. I actually really like the summon spirits coming at the end of Vesperia. I think it's one of the coolest things about the story. But yeah, there's some cool stuff here in Vesperia's story. Like, it's a solid story. There's nothing really great about it. If there's one negative I could think of it is, I think Alexei, the villains in the middle and the end game, mostly the middle game, needed to be a little bit better. Because I think Barbatos was something. He was a starting villain, but then you have Alexei who, like, comes out of nowhere as the antagonist. Well, other than, like, him obviously being evil, because, haha, his looks and his voice, but Alexei, I think, needed a lot more build-up to being the antagonist. There's, like, a side quest that goes into it, but that's already after he's dealt with. And then Duke. I think Duke is actually a pretty good villain, but he's not one of the best. I think Duke could have used some work, too, but Duke at least had some more time than Alexei as an antagonist. So, I think if anything, I think the one thing I would say Vesperia could have worked on to make the story, like, a lot better would have been the antagonist just a little bit. But other than that, I think Vesperia's story is, I think it's fine enough. I don't think it needs to be, like, that much better, because the characters are really good. So, I really did like that. And again, Yuri's a great lead. And you play as a freaking dog, Rapide. Shout out to Rapide. Rapide is awesome. But yeah, that's the story and the characters of Vesperia, and the gameplay of Vesperia is also good. It's not one of my favorites. I think Vesperia, upon reflecting on the game, it has a really, I don't want to say learning curve, but there's a high skill ceiling. I think that's the way I want to word it. Where, like, you can really master the game. Once you get down these skills, you can do some crazy stuff, whether it's with, like, Judith or just other stuff. I think there's a lot of mechanics in Vesperia, and there's a high skill ceiling. Like, I don't think it's hard to get into Tales of Vesperia, but you can master the game if you really take the time to delve into the skills. I was never one of those people. I think I'm pretty good at the Vesperia combat, but I would never call myself a master of it, which is probably why it's not one of my favorites. Maybe I'm a little biased in that, but like, yeah, so the combat is really cool. It kind of plays like Abyss, but a little bit better. There's some things in Vesperia's combat that make it not as fluid, like iframes are weird at times, and some other stuff. Overlimit isn't as good as Abyss until like level 4, stuff like that. But overall, the combat is fun. I really like the skill system in the game, because in Abyss, you got to set the skills, they would just set automatically when you learn them, but in Vesperia, you set them based on your skill points, and I was getting to Alter Arts. There are these unique skills that get you Altered Arts. Like, you can make Azure Edge turn into, like, a Twin Azure Edge, for example. But you use skill points in Vesperia. So, that was really cool. I did like the skill point system better in Vesperia, because it meant you got to pick and choose instead of just having them all available, even though they were a little stingy with skill points in the game. But I thought it was really cool. And getting to master the equipment to learn skills, that being the main progression of Vesperia, it was really good. Very FF9. I liked it. I thought it was good. What was Innocence R's level up system? I don't even remember. Did Innocence R even have a level up system? I don't think it did, right? Let me know in the comments what it was, because I forgot to talk about it, but I don't remember what it was. I straight up do not remember because that game didn't really resonate with me by the end. But, yeah, so I think that's all I have to say on Vesperia, really. Like, I think it's a good game. It's not one of my favorites. For me, it's not the pinnacle of the series. I see why people love this game a lot. Like, the people who love Vesperia, more power to you. I think it's a really good game. It's not going to be one of my favorites, though, but I still really like it. I still respect it as a game, and it has one of the best leads in the series. The thing is, I don't think Yuri's my personal favorite lead in the series, but I can respect that he's one of the best. He would probably be, like, top 5 for me. We'll see about that. But yeah, Tales of Vesperia, really good game. I think it gets a solid B tier. Alright, we're moving on to Tales of Hearts R. I need to really quickly open my list, my ranking list, because I had this on my phone. I think I'm gonna put Hearts R in C or B. It's never gonna be C or B, I just don't know which. I think B. Hearts goes under... Does it go over Phantasia? I don't know. It's B tier, but I don't know if I'm going to put it over or under Phantasia. I think I'm going to put it over for the combat system. With that, we're going to segue into the combat. The combat in Hearts R is pretty dang fun. I remember really liking this combat system. I haven't played this one in a while. I only played it the once. This one and a future one, another Tales game on this list. The rankings are going to be a little weird. They can be like 1 or 2 places lower because I only played 2 of these games once and they were a good while ago. This game was like 4 years ago for me, so I don't have this fresh in my mind, but I remember enough about it to talk about it. But yeah, anyway, the combat system. I remember this combat system being really fun. It's really like Abyss and Vesperia, but like faster. And again, Innocence R played a lot like Hearts, but a predecessor. But Hearts' unique gimmick, it brings back the counter system from Innocence R, but its unique system is, I think it's called the Chase Link system, but basically, when you attack an enemy a certain number of times, they'll like have this blue like glyph on them, and then you can do a couple of things. You can hold the attack button to do like a Fatal Strike-esque attack, which I forgot to talk about that with Vesperia. Those were really cool. I like Fatal Strikes. There's a lot, but I'm trying to keep this video not too long. But anyway, Hearts R, you can hold the attack button when there's a glyph around to do like a finisher, not really a finisher, but like a strong attack. Or you can press the square button to teleport to them. So if you launch them into the air, you can like teleport to them. It's really cool. I remember loving that. I loved zipping around the field and comboing. Comboing was really fun in this game. So I really did like the combat system. There were some really fast and fluid characters. A lot of the characters were fun to play as. I think that's really all I have to say on the Hearts R combat system. Like thinking about it, there's not a whole lot different from other Tales games here either, but I think what they added was enough. I think the Chase Link system was really cool. Another thing is, because this game was on the Vita, there were some gimmicks I wasn't able to utilize, like touchscreen, because I was playing on PSTV, so that was unfortunate. Maybe if I got to use those, I would think more of the combat. Overall, though, I think it's a fun combat system. I think it's a really, really fluid and fast combat system. But let's move on to the story and the characters with Hearts R. And the story in Hearts R, I think it's fine until the second half. I think there's 2 things I want to say about the story. I think the first half, which is collecting the Vesperia shards for Kohaku and doing all that, that part, I think it's fine. I think it's a fine story. I don't really have any glowing praise, but I don't have any negatives to it. It works for, you know, getting Kohaku's Vesperia shards and feelings back. The concept of Hearts, basically, is diving into these Vesperia mazes, which is pretty interesting. Diving into, like, their hearts, pun intended, I guess, sort of. But, yeah, that was one of the gimmicks of Hearts R, and I thought that was a cool twist on the story. I think the first half is fine. I don't think it's anything special. But then the second half happens, and I really like the stuff with Gardenia and the stuff with, oh, I don't know what the world was called, but the world where, the other, like, world they had. They have, like, kind of the 2 worlds plot in this game. And then, like, Creed Graphite, I thought was a really good antagonist, and, like, Fluora and Lithia. That stuff was really cool. I thought the second half really brought it back. It's kind of like Grace's, which we're going to talk about very soon. Kind of like Grace's, how the story starts off relatively simple, but then it gives it that otherworldly, like, twist. Not crazy big twist, but otherworldly spin that you didn't know the story needed. So I really did like the second part of Hearts R's story. I really did appreciate that. And the villains were actually pretty good in this game. At least Creed Graphite I remember being really good. And the characters, I think they're good. I think there are some really good characters. Core's a pretty standard protagonist, but he's fine. Barrow I remember not being the biggest fan of. She grew on me a little bit, so that was cool. But then there's other characters like Chalcedony, and Kohaku and Ines I remember really liking. There were some really good characters. I would never say the Hearts R cast is like the best cast, but there are some really fun moments I remember. There are some really fun skits. But overall, I think the characters are good. They're not my favorite cast or anything. I think the cast in Hearts R might be... I'm thinking of these games. I think of these games, like, the Hearts R cast... Well, besides Innocence R, Destiny, and Phantasia, Hearts R might be my least favorite of the ones on this list. So, like, you know, not my favorite cast, but they were really good. They had some really good moments. I can't really think of any, like, you know, glowing praise for them, but they're fun. I don't think they're bad. They're not bad characters at all. They had some really good moments. They were just a really goofy and fun group I enjoyed spending time with. But, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think. I know I'm making this short, but, like, I can't think of much else about Hearts. I think it's a really solid Tales game. I think the thing I could say about Tales of Hearts is, for me at least, I don't think there's anything this game super excels at. But it does everything really well. It doesn't really do anything bad, but it doesn't do anything exceptionally well. So it's probably the most, like, one of the most balanced and solid Tales of games. It does really well at all the categories. It does really solid at all the categories, I should say. It doesn't fail really at any of them, but it doesn't really exceed at any of them. But it does everything really good. So I think that makes a really, really fun Tales game. Play this game if you somehow have a Vita or TV. I think it's really good. Hopefully it gets that remaster. Fingers crossed. Alright, we're moving on to Graces F. This is no surprise at all. Graces F, after playing this game so many times, especially the remaster, which was recent, this stays in S tier. Graces F remains one of my favorite Tales games. It's easily an S tier. But yeah, let's dive into it. What do we want to start with? Probably the story, because I was talking about that with Tales of Hearts. But similar to Tales of Hearts, I think the Graces story starts off really, like, relatively simple, but then it eventually takes this turn that I didn't know it needed. Like, the stuff with Fojo was really cool. Another thing about Tales of Graces, it's a big misconception how people always say, like, it's such a lighthearted game, and it is a lighthearted game. There's a lot of comedy. I think Graces is one of the funniest games in the series. It's one of the more lighthearted ones in terms of comedy. This game has some really funny skits, which points for that, because skits in Tales of are always good, but Tales of Graces has some of my favorite skits in the series. They're just hilarious. I just remember a lot of them. But Tales of Graces, yeah, so I think Tales of Graces, I think it's a misconception. The story does do some things that are dark. It's still not as dark as, like, Berseria or, like, even Arise or Abyss to a lesser extent, but it does some things that are really dark, like the end of the childhood arc. And on that note, I think the arcs are really cool in this game, the different arcs, the childhood arc, main arc, and future arc. But Tales of Graces F, as one of my favorite Tales games, I like the story. I think it's good. It's not a masterpiece or anything like that, but I think it's a good story. And the characters in this game are also amazing. I really love Asbel as a protagonist, and Sharia, Hubert, Sophie. Sophie's growth through the game is really good. Malik, and they're all just great. They have really fun moments in the skits. They have their story moments. They're probably not the most, like, developed cast in the story, but yet you feel like they grow. You feel like they get to know each other and become a family of sorts, and I really did like that. So I really did like the characters. Oh crap, I forgot to talk about the Hearts R level up system. Man, this is the most scuffed ranking list of all time, but back to Hearts real quick. The Vesperia level up system was really good. I remember liking that level up system. Alright, moving on to Graces. But anyway, Tales of Graces F. I like the characters. I really love the characters, and I think they do really well with them. There are some really funny skits, and there are some really good moments in the story. Like, again, I don't think the story is the best in the series, not even close, but I think it's a good story. I don't think it gets enough credit. But yeah, really good there, really great skits, really good characters. The level up system in Graces is the title system, and I actually really like the title system, where you equip a title and you get to learn all these abilities and all these arts. I think that's really cool. I think it's a cool progression system where titles matter more than levels. I really did like that. And the combat system took a really big shift. This is the first Team Destiny game we got. I talked about this a bit with Destiny DC, but this is the first one that we got in the West. So we got, I almost said martial arts because I just played Zestiria. We got A arts, which are like your fast, fluid arts, and then we got B arts, which are like stronger, kind of like magic. They're magic if you're playing as like Sharia and Pascal. But the A arts and B arts I really did like, and there's this CC system. I don't need to go too much into this because I talked about it in CC. But really good on the combat system. Grace's is one of the more fast and fluid combat systems. It's one of my favorites. I don't even think this is my favorite combat in the series, but it's definitely like top 3, top 5. It's really fun. Really love the combat system. Every character plays like pretty differently. They all play fundamentally the same, but they feel different to play with their different arts. I like to play as pretty much all of them except for one, but overall, the combat system in Graces is cool. You got like Overlimit, which is like in the form of Elith Burst now, which is really cool. The Mystic Arts are really good, and you get the Excel Gauge in the Future Arc, which is a cool thing as well. But combat is super fun in this game. I really have no like, well, I have one negative to it, is that the higher difficulties could be ridiculous. If you're playing this game on the higher difficulties, it could be a little, you're prone to like getting sunlocked and stuff, and it could be really tough. But like tougher than normal. But other than that, no, not really many problems with the combat system. I think it's a super fun combat system. I really love playing this game, and there's a reason this is one of my most played Tales games, is because it's just really fun. But a lot of people say like, oh, if Graces is your favorite, the combat system makes you your favorite. Alright, the combat system's really good, but I love everything else about it too. Again, the story is good. It's not great, but the story is, I think it's good. And I just love the characters and the skits. I think the characters, the skits, and the combat, that's enough to keep Graces super elevated. And you have a solid story, all things considered. I also really like the music in this game. I think Graces might have my favorite soundtrack in the series, but I would really have to think about that. But yeah, and there's just a ton of content, tons of stuff to do. But yeah, Graces F, the Elith Mixer is also a cool gimmick as well. It was really unique. It was kind of like the food sash thing in Destiny DC, which I didn't use a lot in Destiny DC, but I've grown to appreciate the Elith Mixer a lot more. And discoveries! Discoveries are in this game. When you go through the world, you find discoveries, you get more skits, and you get like landmarks of the world. That's really cool. There's another game that adds discoveries we're going to talk about, which was cool. I want those to return in the 17th game. I really like discoveries. But yeah, Tales of Graces F is one of my favorite games, one of my favorite Tales games. Really love it. S tier, easy. Play it if you haven't. Alright, and then Tales of Xillia, I also really love this game. I'm just thinking if I want to put it in S or A. I'm going to put it in S for now. I might move it down to A, but I think for now we're going to put it in S. I might end up shuffling these, but Tales of Xillia, the very first game with dual protagonists. You got 2 protagonists, first female lead, not standalone, but first female lead. But let's talk about that. I really like how Xillia is shorter, honestly. Like, the game is still pretty long. It's still like 30-ish hours. If you're not doing side quests, probably like 30 hours. It's still a decently long game, even if you're not doing the side quests. It's just not one of the longer games. But I really like that because it incentivizes you to want to do the dual protagonist. Like, imagine playing like a game Abyss's Length or something and having the dual protagonist set up. It's like, you wouldn't really like that, right? Like, I would rather games with dual protagonists be on the shorter side to incentivize that second playthrough. Like, sooner, because, yeah. I really did like that setup. The story in Tales of Xillia is also really good. I see a lot of hate for the Xillia story in the late game, and yeah, the game was rushed, and the game didn't have time to, do everything it wanted, which is why Xillia 2 exists, partially. But I don't think it's much of an issue. Like, yeah, the Olympias stuff is, I guess, rushed, and it could have been better, but it never really bothered me in Tales of Xillia. I never really felt like the story was super rushed in that part of the game, honestly. Like, if you think that, that's fair, and maybe factually, yeah, it was rushed, so that's factually correct, but I never really minded or cared. I really like the story of Tales of Xillia. It's a really great story. It's probably one of the better stories in the series, better than the Graces story for sure, so I like the story in Xillia more than Graces. But, I really like how it starts out, not innocent, but like it starts out with low stakes, and then as you play more, the stakes get more. You got like the Chimeriad, and you got like the whole King Noctigal thing, the War in Fezabel, and then eventually it pivots into the Two Worlds plot, which Tales of loves to do. So that was really cool. The villains in Xillia are amazing. The Chimeriad are great villains. I didn't really talk about the villains in Graces because they're not that great in Graces, the antagonists. That's why I didn't really bring them up. But the Chimeriad are some of my favorite villains in the series. They're really good. And Gaius and, spoilers, but, you know, Gaius and Muse were really good antagonists. Something about Xillia that I really like is Judamila and Gaius and Muse have these like different parallels with each other. That's really cool, and the game focuses a lot on like their answers, basically. Like, what Gaius wants for the world, what Mila and Jude want for the world. That's a really cool dynamic. You can actually kind of sympathize with Gaius. He's not really a bad person at all. He wants what's best for the world, basically, but just in his own way, and the only way to settle it is to fight it out, which makes the final battle have so much weight to it. So, I really did like the story. There's not really a weak point of the story for me and Xillia. Again, like, even if the final act is rushed, I never really minded it that much, but overall, it's a really, really great story. And the characters are also amazing. They got great development. Elise, Alvin, Mila, Leia. They have some really great development and some fun skits. I think Xillia might also have the best collection of skits. I really think Xillia and Graces have some of the best skits in the series. Like with Graces, there's just so many skits in Xillia I've, like, pretty much memorized and, like, I will never forget. They're really great. All the innuendos, all that. It's all really funny. And the characters in general have good growth and great chemistry with each other, so really, really great characters. Jude and Mila are also really great protagonists. Jude as well, I don't think it's talked about enough. I think Jude is like one of the more underrated protagonists. But they're really good, and the characters, really love them. And now we segue into the gameplay, which is just really fun. This, I believe, is my favorite combat in the series. I think Xillia has my favorite combat system. The link darts are incredible. You got some aerial combo potential. It kind of gets rid of CC and replacement for AC, which you get like a combo count, like a art and attack count, but you have traditional arts with like TP and stuff. So Tales of Xillia is just really, really fun. I really love how fast and fluid the combat system. I know people say it's like easy and stuff, but if it's too easy, play on the higher difficulty. Stop complaining. I think moderate and hard are a good enough challenge for this game. But the combat system of Xillia is just really fun. I love the linked arts. I love the different playstyles of the characters. Every character has like a unique ability. Like Jude can snap pivot. Mila can bind enemies when you're linked to her. They have a linked ability and a solo ability. Mila can also shift her spells. Like instead of using like Fireball, she can use Flare Bomb with the press of a button. So every character having their unique ability is really cool. That's really awesome. And we can't finish talking about Xillia without the Lilium Orb, which is a really, really good level up system. It's a really solid level up system. The thing about Xillia is you don't really get stats from leveling up. You get your GP and then you have to do it yourself, which, you know, I think that's really cool. The Lilium Orb is kind of like the Sphere Grid. So if you like the Sphere Grid, you'll feel right at home here. It's a really good level up system. And the skills are back to how they were in Vesperia, where you use them for SP, which was really cool. But yeah, I mean, Tales of Xillia is just incredible. The areas and dungeons, this is where Tales of started to get more plain with that. I don't really mind that, but I just thought I'd bring that up as we're talking about all the games. But yeah, so I think the areas in Xillia like are really empty, but that's fine. The game is still really fun, and there's a lot of things to collect in the field and stuff. But yeah, overall, Tales of Xillia is just a really great game. Definitely one of the best Tales games. In my top 3, I believe. I think it's my 3rd favorite. Yeah, 3rd favorite Tales game. So, really great game. I really did like it a lot. Alright, let's move on to Xillia 2, the sequel to Xillia. I think I had this in B tier, but I'm going to double check. This one is in B tier. I think I like this one less than Vesperia, more than Hearts are. Yeah, in between Vesperia, more than Hearts are. Alright, Xillia 2. I think Xillia 2 is a good sequel. It's not a great sequel, but I think it's a good sequel, all things considered. I want to talk about what do I want to talk about first? The story. The combat we're not going to be able to talk much about because it's basically Xillia again, but there's one thing. The story in Xillia 2. I think the story in Xillia 2, I think it's alright. I think it has a super cool concept with the fractured dimensions. I think that's a really cool idea. It focuses a lot on, like, the new characters, like Luger and Elle. Luger's a silent protagonist, and I kind of see what they were going for with him, where they wanted you to, like, they wanted to do this cool twist. If you haven't played the game, well, while you're watching this video, but they wanted to do this cool twist with Luger reveal, and I think it's good. I've understood that over the years, but I don't really like that Luger's a silent protagonist, even still. I appreciate them for trying. I see what they were going for. I just don't think it landed that well. The story's pretty cool. It's got some cool stuff going for it. It's not amazing. It's a fine story. The Fractured Dimensions was a cool concept, though. I really did like that. Part of the story I did like, which isn't technically the story, but I'll count it, is the character quests. I really like the character sub-stories you got to do. Like, the Xillia characters got their character stories. Those were really enjoyable. I did really enjoy doing those. I enjoyed, like all the sub-stories of the characters from Xillia 1. I enjoyed getting to see what they were doing a year after the game, so that was really cool. That part of the story I did really like. The rest of the story is fine. It's not bad, it's not great. It's fine, I guess. There's a cool twist at the very end, which again is like who Luger really is in like the fractured world and stuff. But yeah, other than that, I think it's a fine story. And the characters as well. The Xillia 1 characters are really great in this game because they have some good skits and some character stories. The problem is, they're not really the focus. The game focuses a lot on the newer characters, which is fine. I understand, like, the Xillia 1 characters had their game. This game does better at weaving them into the storyline, unlike something like Symphonia 2. So, I mean, that's why I think the story is fine to decent. Like, I think it's a decent story, because it did do better at having the Xillia 2 character, or Xillia 1 character, sorry. Having the Xillia 1 characters, like, be involved in it, so I think that was really good about it. It had them involved a lot better. Yeah, but overall, the story didn't do much for me, and it was just great to play with the Xillia 1 characters again, like, having them in the game. There were still some great skits here, and seeing them with the other characters was really good. So, really good on that front. I think the antagonists in this game are also weak. I can't really remember too many of them besides, like, Kronos. Kronos is probably the best villain in this game. He's pretty cool, but other than that, like, the others, they're alright, they're fine, they're nothing special. And, characters, like, again, they're just the Xillia 1 characters. The new characters are fine, like Luger, Elle, and Julius. They just don't super grip me, like a lot of other Tales characters. And the gameplay changes are... In this game, the gameplay changes, there aren't much. Basically, there are new linked arts, like link charges, link pillars. Basically, linked arts are easier to get because of those. And then there's the weakness system. This is the biggest change, and probably what I'm going to spend most of my time talking about. I don't like it. I don't like it. I understand, like, switching between different elements and weapons to get big combos, but I just don't really like it, because it makes playing as other characters, like, not really doable at times, because if a boss resists his hammer, which Jude's main element is for his attack, every character has an element, so if someone resists hammer, it makes playing as Jude a little bit harder. You have to hope he has some other elemental skills. The game feels designed to play as Luger, who's a character who can switch between weapons, and don't get me wrong, that's freaking awesome. I like playing as Luger a lot of the time, but I also want to play as the Xillia 1 characters, especially guys in Musée who were added for this game. I want to play as them, but the game is balanced around Luger's gameplay style because he can use all the weapons. It's fundamentally better to play as Luger in this game. And there's also this thing called the Chromatus, which is like Luger's power-up form. It's used as like kind of a secondary overlimit in a way. It's really cool. It was pretty awesome. It had a cool mystic art and everything. But yeah, I think that's what it comes down to. I like the Xillia 1 combat system more because I could play as any character I wanted no matter what. In Xillia 2, I kinda could do that, but it feels like I should play as Luger most of the time, because playing as the other characters feels like you're handicapping yourself. So, I think that's what just brings the Xillia 2 combat system down. It's still fun because it's Xillia combat system, but it's just a downgrade from the first Xillia in that regard. But it's still a fun combat system, not to kick it while it's down, it's still a fun combat system. And in a lot of the areas in Xillia 2 are reused, but something I really liked about Xillia 2 is it got to expand on Olympios. I think it expanded on Olympios in an interesting way, so I thought that was really cool. I really liked seeing it expand on Olympios and have more areas, because I'd like to believe Xillia 1 meant to have more Olympios areas, but ran out of dead time. But yeah, I think Xillia 2, I think it's a pretty good sequel to Xillia 1. I think it's a good sequel to Xillia 1. It's a pretty good game. It's probably like mid-tier Tales of for me. Like, as you see, it's under Vesperia. It's somewhere smack dab in the middle. I still really like it as a game. Getting more time with guys in Musée in the party is really cool. That's one of the highlights, as well as the character stories, and just seeing them again for one final game. So, Xillia 2 is really good. Oh, the Allium Orb system? Worse than the Lilium Orb system. That's all I have to say on that. Alright, chaps. 3 games left. We're down to the last 3. The one I recently played, Tales of Zestiria. Now, this is not my least favorite Tales game because Innocence R is my least favorite. Tales of Zestiria. This one is interesting because I really enjoyed this game playing it again, but I don't think I can give it higher than the C tier upon thinking about it. Where did I have it on my list? Alright, so I think high C tier, maybe I'll up it to B tier, but I think C tier is fair, and we'll get into why, but Tales of Zestiria, this game is fresh on my mind, so I'll be able to talk about this stuff quick. The story in Zestiria it's not bad. A lot of people hate the story and say it's bad. I don't think it's bad. I think it's fine. I think Zestiria has a lot of cool ideas in its story, like the whole Shepherd and Lord of Calamity thing, getting to see what the previous Shepherds did and stuff like that. Soray's whole answer, Soray's conclusion at the end of the game and stuff. It's got some really cool ideas here. I think the war subplot is also fine, but I think the problem with Zestiria is it doesn't always execute them the best. Like, I think the openings and the ends of Zestiria, the opening and ending of Zestiria, like the first and third acts, are actually some of the stronger points of the story. They're not super strong, but I think they work. I think the mid-game doesn't, is the problem. I think that's all I really have to say on the story. The story doesn't really, like, it's good, but it doesn't, like, really grip you. It's just, like, some of the things are, like, not as expanded upon as they could have been. First of all, Alicia, there's the whole Alicia controversy. I think Alicia was really good in the opening game, and then, like, when she left, she was just not in the game much, so she could have driven the war plot more, but then at the end, you join up with her, and the war plot comes back, and you're like, oh, yeah, the war is still something we have to do. And then there's, like, a lot of other things, but, like, overall, I can't really think of that many negatives with the story. It just never really super gripped me. The story never really did anything to, like, amaze me, but it didn't really bore me. I thought it had some really cool ideas. And then there's the fact of Dezel's death, which his backstory felt super rushed. I felt for Dezel, which we'll talk about the characters soon, but his storyline feels so rushed. They just give you everything on it, like, right when he dies, so the game, you feel for him because, you know, you feel for Dezel, because we'll talk about the characters soon and you'll see why, but objectively, the game doesn't give a lot of breathing room before Dezel dies, so that's unfortunate. But yeah, I don't know. I can't really think of much with the story I like. I guess what I like about the story is seeing the previous Shepherds and what they did, the Earth and the Historia, seeing the history of the world and seeing Soray come to the answer he does. That stuff is really cool about the story, but other than that, there's not a lot that grips me at the story. Not a bad story, just not super great either. It's like alright, it's fine. And then we're gonna do the characters, which I really like the characters this time around. I always thought two characters were like really great in this game, and the others were like good. They were fine. But this time, I actually really appreciate a lot of them. Soray as a protagonist, I'm really mixed on, because on the one hand, I do like some of his, like, the answer he comes to. Some of his endgame moments are really good. Most of the time, he doesn't really grip me, but he has his moments. He's probably my least favorite character in the game, but yeah, so I like him, but there's also parts where he doesn't grip me. And then Mikleo, I really like Mikleo. Mikleo had some really sarcastic remarks. He's a good foil to Soray. And then Rose was really, really fun, and Dezel was really fun, where he, like, obsessed with animals. There's some great skits here. My favorite character is Edna. I absolutely love Edna. She's got the best lines in the series, best comebacks for everything. Zavid, the womanizer, really great. Really, really fun characters. The skits really highlight that too. And the discoveries are back, and I urge you all to get the discoveries, because some of the discoveries have some of those best skits, but I really did like the skits in this game and the characters. The characters were such a fun group. I really did love the characters in this game. Kind of like Legendia, right? Like, I really love Legendia's in the C tier. Still a good game. I really love the characters. Same for Zestiria. Sort of. Do I like the Zestiria cast more than Legendia cast? I might like the Legendia cast more than Zestiria. I think the Legendia cast might be better, just yeah, probably. But anyway, so I really did love the characters this time around, and the story again was fine, so I didn't really mind that it didn't super grip me, because I was always interested in the characters and what was going on with them. But yeah, I really did appreciate them. The level up system in Zestiria, what is the gimmick? Oh, it's like the equipment system. I don't like the equipment system. I saw what they were going for. I didn't really like it. I'm glad they never really used it again. I think it's interesting on paper, but it just doesn't really do much for me. I think it's really more effort than it's worth to do good equipment builds in this game, but that's all I really have to say on that. And then I'm going to dive into the gameplay of Zestiria, which the gameplay in Zestiria is fun, but comparing it to all these other Tales games, it's just so clunky and not as good. I think Zestiria is fun as an action game. When it comes to action games, I think it's still fun, like really good. But comparing it to other Tales games, I think it's just weak. It just doesn't feel as good to play. And it's actually one of the few games I like to play as casters, because the physical attackers just I never really got used to their movement and stuff. And I think the big thing about Zestiria's combat is it's balanced around armonization. Harmonization's really awesome. The fusing of a human and a seraph, I thought it was really cool. I'm glad they did it for this game, but I'm glad they never did it again. Because while harmonization is cool, the game is balanced around it where single characters do really pitiful damage. Their damage output is pretty bad. Like, it feels like you're supposed to armortize for every single boss, otherwise the bosses feel more spongy than they are. There's also combo potential in Zestiria, which it kind of sucks because there's times where the bosses break out of combos a lot, and there's times when they have like these iframes and you can't really hit them. There's also this whole like thing of like they'll have super armor but you're still doing damage. There's just a lot of issues with the combat system. The combat is like my least favorite thing about Zestiria, kind of like Legendia. Where the combat was the thing I really didn't like by the end. Kind of the same in Zestiria, but I think the combat in Zestiria is better than Legendia. I think the story in Legendia is definitely better. Like, here's the thing, right? I'm comparing these two. Legendia's story is better than Zestiria. The combat in Zestiria is better than Legendia. The characters Legendia barely wins. But anyway, Zestiria, like, the combat is fun, but it got old by the end. It's not as polished as the other Tales games, which is unfortunate. So, combat just kind of didn't do much for me. It's still fun, but it's probably one of the worst combats in the series. It's one of the weaker ones, and it's not even bad, it's just one of the weaker combat systems. But, yeah, I mean, that's really all I have to say. I kind of aired my grievances there and in my playthrough. If you want any of my, like, if I didn't talk about anything, I'm trying to make this video not super long. So, go watch, like, my playthroughs and my final videos of them for my full thoughts on each game, but this is more about comparing them with each other. But yeah, so Tales of Zestiria, I still really liked it. I still really like the game. It's towards the bottom of my list, but like I said, none of these games are bad. Even Innocence R. Innocence R is like a fine, decent game. It's not bad. It's an alright game by the end. But Zestiria, like, still a good game. Definitely a lot of undeserved hate for it, but yeah, so that's Tales of Zestiria. And then we're moving on to the final two. Tales of Berseria, this is going in S tier. I think Tales of Berseria is my favorite Tales game, especially after replaying it. I know I've said Graces was my favorite, but I played the remaster for Berseria and Graces together, but, like, Graces has a better combat system than Berseria, but playing Berseria again, I got so much enjoyment out of it. Like, so much enjoyment. I think I enjoyed my Berseria remastered run just a smidge more than my Graces remastered run, which is what it comes down to. But Tales of Berseria, I love this game so much. I really love it. Some of the standouts are the story. The story is like one of my favorite stories of all time, so it's my favorite story in Tales of. I love the way the story flows. The Shepherd Lord of Calamity thing is back, but it's flipped, where you're playing as the Lord of Calamity and you're fighting against the Shepherd. It's more morally gray than black and white. Oh, that's the thing about Zestiria. The villains suck in that game. Held Off was alright, but the other villains sucked. While Berseria, the villains are really great. I love the antagonists. I love Artorias. I love the Legends. I love the antagonists in this game. They got some cool parallels with the characters. Not much as Xillia, but they got some. I liked how morally gray it was. How, yeah, you're playing as the Lord of Calamity and you're fighting against a Shepherd, but it's not so much about that. It's about what you guys believe in. I thought it was really good, like about your own beliefs. Kind of like Xillia. It had the same kind of message as Xillia, but done better in this game. Not by much, but still done better. The whole why do birds fly thing and, like, you know, Artorias take your free will and, like, nah, that's not cool, bro. Really great story. I like the way it flows, and then you fight, like, you have to find the Therians in the middle part, and it all leads to, like, the Anominaut stuff. I really love the story in this game. I can gush about it forever. The characters are also really great. Like, I think this is, like, one of my favorite casts in the series. Top 3 at the worst. Like, one of my favorite casts of characters. Like, you got Rokuro, you got Laphicet, Eleanor, Aizen, Magilu, Velvet. Velvet's one of my favorite leads in the series. Really love her. Really love her revenge-driven story, but she loosens up. All the characters, I think what really makes the characters for me in this game is, I really like how at the end, they will never admit it, but they all, like, loosen up and they all get to be, like a nice group. They all, like, are still together. They're going on the journey for their own selfish reasons, but later in the game, they would never admit it, but they're together by choice. And Laphicet says this one line about it being their creed that really resonates with me and harkens that message. I really love the characters. They got some great skits together. I really think Graces, Xillia, and Berseria have the best collection of skits, which happen to be my S-tier games right now, which is funny. I think that's what makes it, because the skits in Tales of are really important to me. Yeah, the characters in the story, but specifically the skits, because the skits is where a lot of the fun moments of the characters are in Tales of. So, really great on that front. I like the gameplay in Berseria. It's not my favorite, but I like the break souls, and I like how each character has a different break soul to help them. It's got a risk-reward thing, because like if you're really low on souls, you don't want to use up all your souls. If you're high on souls, you can use all your souls. It relies on stuns and status elements and focus and stuff. It's not my favorite combat system. I can easily say like Graces, Xillia, I'm trying to think. Graces, Xillia, and maybe Rebirth. I enjoy the combats more in those games. Maybe even Hearts R I enjoy more. Like, Berseria's combat is fun, do not get me wrong. It's a really, really great combat system. I don't even think it's one of my favorites. Like, the combat in the game is really, really good, but what puts this game as, like, my favorite Tales game is more so the characters in the story. The characters in the story are what elevated it for me. The combat is really good, though. I really do like it. Don't get me wrong. It's really fun. But the break souls are cool and stuff like that. The equipment system was a lot better here, too. It played a lot more like the Vesperia system, where you got to master different skills and you had like the enhancement bonuses. It's still a bit much. The enhancing and dismantling system isn't my favorite in Berseria, but I like the equipment system a lot better in this game than Zestiria. It was a lot better. I don't think it's like the best equipment system. It still needed some tuning down, but it was good. It was good. It was a step in the right direction. Yeah, overall, I just really love playing as all the characters in this game. It's really fun. I just love the story and love the characters. Tales of Berseria is one of my favorite games. It is my favorite Tales game, like just barely overtopping Graces. Like, again, there's things I think Graces does better, and there's things I think Berseria does better, but I think by the end, I just enjoyed my Berseria remastered run more than my Graces remastered run. I really feel like this one, my favorite Tales game, depends on which I played more recently. Although we'll see if I ever play Graces again, if that changes, but that's what it comes down to. Really great game though, love Berseria a lot. And then we finally reached the final game, which is Tales of Arise. This is another one, I only played this once. This game in Hearts, only one playthrough. So take their ratings with like more of a grain of salt. They can go like up or down a rank because I haven't played them, like, I've only played them once, so I'm not as biased on them. Now Arise, I'm gonna put Arise in B tier. And yes, I'm gonna put Arise over Vesperia. I know, pitchforks in the comments. But Arise is really good. This game is really good. Like, there's a lot of divisive. I think this is one of the more divisive? I can't talk. This is one of the more divisive games in the series. But I think there's people who love this game, there's people who hate this game. It's really divided, a lot more divided than I thought. But Tales of Arise is a really good game. I really like it. I haven't played it in a while, so maybe it'd be a little higher or maybe it'd be a little lower. I don't know. But for now, I'm putting it in B tier. It's probably like mid tier of the Tales games. But the story in Tales of Arise, I really did like. The first part of the game focuses on like the Brennan Lords and stuff, and you had the whole like trying to Danon's rising up. A Danon slave rises up to stop the Brennans, and he meets up with Shion, and you have to meet all the lords. And I think that's really good. I think the first half of the game is really, really good. I like the story. I really do like the story in the opening part. The second part does get really lore dumpy. A lot of people hate on this part of the game, and I see why. It's really lore dumpy. I like what's happening in the second part, but I think they could have done better at it. I think it turns into like a visual novel. It is a lot of lore dump, it is, but I do like what's happening with like the Sovereigns and stuff, and like the Helganquil, all the stuff in the second half. I do like it, but I think it could have been better. Like, I think it's just too lore dumpy, and it's a lot more like story and skits and cutscenes than actual gameplay, which they could have done better at spacing that out, I will say. But I thought it was good. I think for that, the story is pretty good in The Rise. I think it would have been really good if the second half was done better. Like, it would have been one of the best stories. The second half does bring it down, though. I think the story would have been one of the best, if not for the second half. But overall, I still like the story. I still think it's good. And the characters in this game are also really good. I really did like Alphen. I thought Alphen was a really, like, well-rounded protagonist. Nothing amazing, but he got things done. I really did like his kind of attitude and, like, the way he helps the other characters, like, builds up the other characters, too. And then, like, Shion the Tsundere, who eventually, like, she has some really emotional moments later in the game. And then Brimwell, Dohalim, Kisara, Law. I don't really hate a single character in this game. They're all really great. Probably one of my favorite casts in the series. They're up there. I think the Tales of Arise cast is definitely one of my favorites. But, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, Tales of Arise, like, really great characters, a really good story. The combat in this game is really good. It's not one of my... It's probably one of... like, up there as one of the better ones, but there's some reasons why it's not one of my favorites. Kind of like Berseria, like it's good, but not one of my favorites. I think it's really it's really good. I like the CC system is gone, like the Berseria like system. It goes back to standard attacks and arts and combos, and you get like aerial arts, which is cool. That was really awesome about the combat system. And the perfect dodging, I love perfect dodging in this game. You got the boost attacks and the boost strikes. I think that's what makes the combat for me is the boost attacks, where you can summon a character. Like you could summon Brimwell to steal a spell. You could summon Law to break down shields. Every character has their use, which was really cool. So that was really awesome. And the boost strikes, the finishers are awesome. They're really cool. Everyone like combos up and does a cool attack. I think what I don't like about the Arise combat is the boss fights. The boss fights have a lot of HP and they don't stagger. Nothing staggers, like only enemies stagger in this game. And I think they could have done better with that. I think what I would have done is, so Tales of Arise has like these quadrants in its health bar. I think I would have done at certain intervals. If they wanted to keep it non-staggerable, I would have just made bosses stagger sometimes, but if they wanted to keep the bosses non-staggerable, I would have made it where like after a little bit of health, a boss will like stagger for a little bit. Maybe have like a stagger period. That would have been a good balance for whatever they were trying to do with the combat system. But overall, I like the combat system in Tales of Arise. I think the combat system is really fun. I think it's a fun combat system. And the areas were a lot better. There's like crafting. The crafting system was a lot more toned down in the game compared to... I think it was a lot more simple, which worked after what Zestiria did and Berseria tried to tune it down. But it's a super simple accessory and weapon system. You just get the stuff and craft it. It was much needed after Zestiria overcomplicated. And Berseria tried to, but didn't overcomplicate it enough. So that was really good. And the level up system in Arise is these, it's kind of like graces. It's like these titles, like these skill panels. I think it was really cool. I think the one problem with it though is a lot of stuff costs a lot of SP, so you really have to build up a lot of SP to get what you want. But it was a cool level up system. I really did like it. It felt reminiscent to the title system from Graces. But yeah, I mean, Tales of Arise, it's a really great game. I really got to replay this game. This is going to be a Tales game I replay in 2027. Again, like if I played it again, it might go up or down the rank, but yeah, for what it stands right now, Tales of Arise, it's a solid, like, it's not like one of my favorites, but it's like probably right under them or something. But yeah, that's Tales of Arise. Alright, and this is the tier list. So here's how we're doing this basically. Like, this is 16 games right here. Like, I'm trying to think if I want to move any of these tiers, if I want to move them. But Tales of Innocence is a D tier. It's my least favorite Tales game. Number 15 is Tales of Destiny Director's Cut, which, you know, again, I think what this comes down to is I'm disappointed. I think Tales of Destiny disappointed me. I had more expectation of it playing it, so I think that really let me down. That's why it's so low. Number 14 is Legendia, because, again, the gameplay just really dragged for me. I really loved the characters, and I thought the story was pretty cool, and there were some decent antagonists. Like, everything else about Legendia I thought was really, really good. It was really good to great, the characters being great. But the combat just really dragged me out. That's what it came down to. And it was like a 50-hour game. Tales of Zestiria is my 13th Tales game. That is just above Legendia, even though Legendia had the better characters. I think Zestiria and a better story. But Zestiria was more fun to play than Legendia, so as a game, I think it barely overtakes Legendia. Number 12 is Phantasia. It's the first game in the series, so, you know, they were trying stuff out and getting staples. I think this is fair for Phantasia, just because it's like the others are just better in every way, in my opinion. Still really fun, though. Tales of Hearts R is number 11th. It's more fun than all the games below it. And Tales of Hearts, like, it doesn't really excel at anything, but it does really, really good in all the categories. So it's a really well-rounded, solid Tales game. Actually, I'm trying to think. I might put Hearts R over Xillia 2? Nah, keep Xillia 2, because Xillia 2, my number 10, gives me another game with the Xillia cast, so I think that makes it above Hearts R for me. And Guys and Musée are fun, but again, the weakness system bring it down, but still really fun, really good sequel to Xillia. Number 9 is Vesperia, which I enjoy more than everything below it. I think the combat system in Hearts I might enjoy more than Vesperia. But overall, Vesperia had a great protagonist, really good characters, and it's just a fun game overall. Number 8 is Arise, which, yeah, we just talked about Arise, so I'm not going to readdress that. Number 7 is Abyss. Tales of the Abyss had great characters, great character development in its game. That's what really makes it for me. The combat's fun, but nothing special. but it's a fun combat system. So Abyss gets number 7. Number 6 is Tales of Rebirth, which I think what puts Rebirth over Abyss is the combat system. I really like the combat system. Again, it's a divisive combat system, but I really like it. I'm one of the people who loves the combat system. I grew to appreciate it as I played the game more. Characters might be better in Abyss than Rebirth, but yeah, I don't know. We'll keep Rebirth at 6. It's just barely above Abyss. Number 5 is Eternia, which I love Eternia, one of the best classics, really great characters, combat systems but really did love that game. Symphonia, number 4, is one of my first Tales games, still resonates with me a lot, and the combat system is not as good as like these two, but the game resonates with me a lot. I like its story and characters. Number 3 is Xillia, which is really fun combat system, great characters, good story. Graces, fun combat system, fun characters and skits. And then Berseria, really great like story and characters and everything. But yeah, this is my ranking. This is number 1. Berseria is number 1. Innocence are number 16. Hopefully I did good with this video. I'm a little worried of how it's gonna come out, but hopefully you all enjoyed it. I don't know if I did the best job with it, but yeah, so that'll be it for Tales of Tier List. We'll see if this changes when I play Destiny 2. We'll see where Destiny 2, I'll probably, when I finish Destiny 2, I'll talk about where Destiny 2 would be. I'll pull this tier list back up and talk about where it would be probably, but we'll see about that. But yeah, thanks for watching this video. I'll see you all for the next ranking I decide to do.